Welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. JC is tearing things up here in the studio.
Big green monster came down. Oh, come on, green monster.
Oh, boy. Well, we got a great show for you today. We're going to talk a little National Signing Day, what happened yesterday, where the Gators rank in the country in the top 10. Also, we're going to talk about the amazing comeback, the largest comeback in school history against the Georgia Bulldogs last night in the O'Connell Center. And then at 8:30, we're going to be joined by Scotty Spurrier, Coach Spurrier's son, who coaches the tight ends and helps with the offense for the Dallas Renegades of the XFL.
That's great.
They kick off this weekend, 10-team league. We'll get his thoughts. A lot of different rule changes in that league that some of them I kind of like. It's not going to be gimmicky like the first XFL. So we'll talk with him, get his thoughts. What he coached in the alliance with Coach, kind of compare the leagues and go from there. But last night, what a win for the Gators,
man.
I have a lot of thoughts about that. JC, what do you think about that?
Well, I thought, it was a tale of two halves. Obviously, the first half I didn't watch as closely as the second half because I was having dinner. And I did get to watch it while I was eating because I like to go to places that have TVs, right, QB? So looking at it, it seemed like, oh, boy, here we go again. This team can't get out of its own way. But it's obvious when they score 80 points and they make shots, they can win any game they play, right?
Well,
and I mean, certainly when you get to 80, you're making shots. And Florida seems to have a lot of success when they get hot and the confidence is running high. And Andrew Nemhard was the difference with the 25 points he had. And when you score 55 points in the second half, man, you have turned it on. And so I don't know, sometimes this team comes into the barn to play, and sometimes they have to be jump-started, and then sometimes I don't know who they are. But it's very schizophrenic sometimes.
Well, here are my thoughts about this team. I think they sit, 14-8 now, I believe.
Okay. I'll tell you.
Yeah, tell me. I believe we're 14-8.
All right. They are.
When I watch this basketball team, very highly recruited kids on the team. But for some reason, and this is the eyeball test. You hear people talk about the eyeball test when you watch them on TV, on person, whatever.
Yeah, the eyeball test.
I feel like the last 4 or 5 teams that we have played has been more athletic than we are and quicker than us. And it showed last night. We couldn't slow them down until in the second half. Mike White played a lot of zone defense, and that allowed us to be able to rebound the basketball. They couldn't drive past us. They had to make shots, and they didn't make a whole lot of shots.
So what were the changes made at halftime?
I just said it. We went to zone defense.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
We are not athletic enough and quick enough to cover majority of the teams we play.
Then that's what you have to do.
Well, that is, but my point is I'm saying it again, athletically and from a quickness standpoint, we can't compete with a lot of the teams that we're playing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But this Edwards kid for Georgia, you take him off the court. He's just one player.
Shoot, the other ones
were good too.
They drove right past us in man coverage. Did I not tell you on the show last night? It was the best
in man coverage.
Yeah, man coverage, man-to-man defense. Did I not tell you yesterday he was the best player in the league?
Extremely talented.
He's going to be the number 1 draft pick. He's only 18 years old.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
he doesn't look like
anyway, great win by Florida. But my point is, we're a good basketball team. We're not an athletic basketball team at all. If you want to argue with me, feel free. Text us, 352-353-7465. But when people just drive right past you playing man-to-man,
that's frustrating.
It's quickness and athleticism. And when you look at Blackshear, when you look at Nemhard, when you look at Noah Locke, they're good basketball players, and they do things well in what they do, but they have no quickness. No quickness at all, no explosiveness. But anyway, it's still a great win. Florida goes to the Pavilion in Oxford on Saturday, which Ole Miss beat South Carolina. Ole Miss is a very good basketball team. We've already beaten them once.
They're sneaky.
But they played here in the O'Connell Center without their big man and without their best player. So they're a better team than their record shows. Yeah. So this is a game that,
it was one of 5 games this year where a team has come back by more than 20 points and won a game. The other teams that have done that this year in Division I was UTEP, Santa Barbara, West Carolina, and Arizona State. All these teams trailed by 20 or more points and end up winning the game, and Florida certainly was able to do that. And if you're the Georgia Bulldogs QB, you're sitting there thinking, okay, in this past week alone, we've lost 2 games where we had 20-point leads. I don't know. Tom Crean must be pulling his hair out of his head because that is a terrible statistic. But they lost 2 games this week or in the last week where they had 20-point leads. And of course, in the SEC, this is the fourth time in the league that a team trailing by more than 20 points has come back. And certainly Florida with the largest comeback in program history. Well,
they've had 2 great comebacks this year.
They have had 2 great comebacks with the Alabama game and the Georgia game. And so there was a precedent set that this team could do it. And I think some folks mentioned it. I actually listened to the Gator Basketball Radio Network, and they were saying, well, we need to pull another Alabama here and pull this game out because it looked dire. And really, you almost start thinking when it gets like that, you kind of lose focus of the game. You start thinking, where did the season go? I mean, well, are we going to even make the tournament now? And that's not the time to think about that. And certainly Florida did not. They played much better in the second half and scored 55 points.
Well, they shot 60% in the second half, and you make 7 of your 11 three-point attempts, you're going to score a lot of points. Also around the league last night, as we mentioned, Ole Miss beat South Carolina 84-70. But the biggest upset probably of the year in Nashville, a team that has not won 26 league games. They end that skid. Vanderbilt drops 99 on the LSU Tigers.
I mean, 0-8 beats 8-0, right, QB? That's basketball.
Try 0-26.
Oh, sure, no. I know.
0-26.
Oh, absolutely. Dating back from last year, that team hadn't won anything. There was half the building was empty in that scenario. And LSU is a team that we talked about yesterday, and I still stick with Kentucky being the best team in the league. But I think LSU is a team that had a little wake-up call last night. And they'll be good, and they'll make the tournament, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, they'll make the tournament.
But, well, I mean, they'll make the tournament as a high seed. Yeah. I don't think they're going to go in as anything lower than a 6 or a 5 even. So they should be just fine. But when you go up there and you let Vanderbilt just lay it on you, this is what we've talked about in the past here on the show, and we've talked to Chris Harry about this. You travel in the middle of the week, on the road, and anything can happen to you.
Well, it's college basketball. That's right. It doesn't matter when we get to March Madness and they come out with the 4 number 1 seeds.
Yeah.
I can promise you who the 2 seeds and the 3 seeds and the 4 seeds and the 5 seeds in every one of those regions is not any difference this year between the 5s and the 1s.
No,
I mean, there are no dominant teams at all this year in college basketball.
Let's see. We have Gonzaga and who's number 1? Oh, Baylor. I think Baylor is
right. But you're trying to tell me if Baylor matches up with a 5 seed, let's just say I don't even know if a 1 and a 5 would play. I'm not smart enough to figure all that out right now. But just pick a team that's going to make the tournament. That team can beat Baylor. Is my point.
I would say anything higher than or lower than a 10 wouldn't, but you never know. You're right. I mean, look, 12s beat 5s all the time, right?
All the time. Yeah. All the time. Also, yesterday was National Signing Day. Depending on what publication you look at, Gators rank right around 8th in the country. They filled their needs, and that's the biggest thing. If you heard Coach Mullen's presser yesterday, they have a plan. A lot of people want to know, well, why can't we compete with the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's multiple reasons why. The number one reason why is this is only year 2 of Dan Mullen and his tenure, but until we get that football facility built, it's hurting us. Bottom line, it's hurting us.
QB, get some of your friends who run construction in town and just get them moving.
Well, we got to play a baseball season. Should we just what, do you think Kevin O'Sullivan would be happy if I get my boys with the tractors and the backhoes to go over there and just start bulldozing?
Well, take one for the athletic department, Kevin. No, I hear you. And it'll happen. It's coming. It's going to come just like that.
But here's the thing. Would you rather have a staff that's great recruiters or a staff that can freaking coach football?
Well, on that note, you have a text here on the Titan MRI text line, 352-353-7465. Sean comes in. Shane, why does Florida seem to always be looking up to Alabama, Georgia, and LSU in the recruiting standings?
Well, you can throw Clemson in there as well, and Ohio State.
He didn't ask Clemson.
Well, I mean,
I guess he's talking about in the SEC. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's because of when Dan Mullen took over, we'd won 4 games. Okay, we've won 10 games and we won 11 games. Correct?
Yep.
All right.
21
this
games
is year
in
3.
2 years. Right.
He had to rebuild the roster. I think in year 3, after next year, in year 4, the roster will be exactly where he wants it. But as I mentioned earlier, we're the only school, probably in the top 50 in recruiting, that does not have a football standalone facility. And if you think that matters, it does, folks, because facility-wise, kids go on their recruiting visits and they see how nice things are. Yes, the University of Florida is a top 7 public institution academically, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
That's wonderful.
Right.
Athletes don't care about that.
No, and this is no secret. This was the case today as it was in 2008 when certain people around the University of Athletic Association said, we're not going to get into a arms race because we're Florida, and we sell ourselves.
Let me say that.
That
in 2008,
in public.
I understand it, but in 2008, who had football facilities?
Well, I don't know.
Nobody really.
Well, some were coming up. Tennessee started up early. I think there was
a few.
There were indoor practice facilities everywhere.
True, but
they were.
I'm not talking about the indoor.
I know, but that's was not part of it. That was part of it. Well, it may have seemed important back then. I mean, Will Muschamp always complained about having to go into the stinking O'Connell Center when it rained during practice. And when does it rain? In July and August. So that was a problem for Florida.
Right. The problem was when we built the indoor. We put it in the wrong spot, but it's
it's got a roof on it.
Yeah,
okay,
but you have to. But what you don't understand, JC, when there's bad weather, what do they have to do? They have to call a bus service to come pick you up to take you.
Problem.
It's stupid.
That's a problem.
Okay, but it ain't going to be a problem in a year and a half.
Nightmare. No, it won't, and it shouldn't be, and it's late coming, but it's coming.
So, Sean, that's the reason. Win football games and have the facilities. The players will come, but I'm happy with our recruiting class. I know yesterday,
8th in ESPN 300.
Tay Williams,
he went to Miami.
Number 2 safety out of the state of Florida. He chose Miami over Florida. I can't tell you why. I know people get upset about it, but if I'm recruiting John Cornell to come to my school and my staff does everything we possibly can, and you decide to go somewhere else, it's your choice. There's nothing I can do about it.
It may have had something to do with Ed Reed. It may have had something to do with
what the hell's Ed Reed going to do?
Well, Ed Reed's a U guy.
I understand that.
He's a Hall of Fame defensive back.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. But let me ask you this. If Tim Tebow was some kind of ambassador at the University of Florida, and Dan Mullen's recruiting a couple of quarterbacks, okay, do you think that just because Tim Tebow is here, a kid's going to come here, or is he going to choose to go to Oklahoma and play for Lincoln Riley? My point is, it doesn't matter
who. There's a lot of factors that involve a kid's decision.
But it doesn't matter. The kid wants to go where he feels the most comfortable, he and his family. It's that's simple.
Right, but that doesn't throw.
Well, he's not going to recruit anybody that can't throw.
Well, that's true. No,
he's smart.
Right, obviously. And I certainly think that Dan Mullen has the trend in the right direction, and certainly Florida is going to have all of these resources that you're talking about. It is beyond imagination as to why it's taken this long. I think that I know the reason. There are people involved. But having said all that, there's no point in looking back, right? You're going to look forward, and Florida's going to get these players that you're talking about.
Well,
they got a lot of defensive help yesterday, especially up front on the line. I love that Dexter kid, Gervon.
Well, he'd already signed.
I know, but he was part of that class, and so certainly in this class, in the 2019 or 2020 class, whatever class this is,
2020,
2020 class. Yes, that's correct. 2020 class. Defensive ends, defensive linemen, I think stood out more than probably any other position. And certainly Florida got a piece of that pie.
Well, they only added 3 guys yesterday. They added
3.
Xavier Henderson, a stud wide receiver that scores touchdowns.
Oh, sure. Wide receiver, right. Yeah.
His brother, C.J. Henderson.
Well, I was talking about the lineman.
I understand that. Then we had the transfer, Justin Shorter, signed yesterday from Penn State, 5-star receiver.
Yeah.
It's big, 6'4", 220-ish. Going to be problems for smaller DBs.
People,
And then they added the kid out of Texas at 6'4", 280 defensive lineman. Princely Umana Milian. I can't pronounce his last name.
You may have, maybe it's a Samoan player. Maybe that's why you can't pronounce his name. Who knows? But he's a big fella. And certainly Florida needed that. And I think depth up front is the first thing, and then you move on from there. Remember, we are on every Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock. You can listen to the show on iTunes and Spotify. You can watch Shane and I on YouTube and Facebook.com. And, of course, you can watch prior shows and also come into the show with the podupwithshane.com site, podupwithshane.com. The Titan MRI hotline is open and ready to go, 352-353-7465. Sean, we appreciate your text on recruiting.
We're going to take our first time out. Remember, at 8:30, we'll be joined by Scotty Spurrier talking XFL. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer.
Bob in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Weeby Realtor, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Adams Ribs, The Keys Restaurant, UF Mover Guys, Union Home Mortgages, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, and Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Weeby at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Celebration Point is where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the head ball coach's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. John Cornell, Shane Matthews, coming to you from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. JC, we got a text here on the Titan MRI text line from Daryl. Says, good morning, guys. All I've got to say about the basketball game last night is, wow, what a great comeback. I agree with you, Daryl.
If Florida hadn't come back, it would have been the first time in 4 years that they would have had 3 straight home losses. That shows you how well they guard the home court. And in the first half last night, they only had 1 assist. It truly was.
Well, you didn't make shots. If you don't make shots, you can't have assists.
You can't assist.
It's a simple game.
But
making shots and rebounding the basketball.
That's a startling statistic, if you ask me. And it is a simple game, but it's a simple game for 2 teams, not just one. And certainly Georgia made shots in the first half and were outscored considerably in the second half. And that wasn't the only game. We talked about the LSU loss at Vanderbilt last night, which was an upset. How about Iowa going into Purdue and losing by almost 40 points as the Boilers scored 61 points in the first half. So, again, we have these issues with teams sometimes in this time of the year traveling on the road in the middle of the week and just going to sleep. Iowa was a ranked team. Rick says Vandy and Music City rock. I believe we both agree with that. Rick also says, Shane, if you recruit JC, you're fired. I don't know what that means.
We want athleticism.
Freddie, you see these tennis shorts I'm wearing that she got me for Christmas?
That makes you an athlete.
Well, you should see me play tennis and golf. Shane and JC should put their name on the indoor facility. This is from Freddie, and Freddie is absolutely right. We would call it I don't know. We'd call it we'd call it something. But you need to open up that wallet, QB.
Yes, indeed.
So recruiting yesterday wrapped up. We talked about that. Bruce Feldman tweets that Georgia's last 4 recruiting class rankings, number 1, number 2, number 1, and number 3. In those 4 classes, they've landed 19 5-star recruits, which averages out to 5 a year.
And they've won 1 SEC title.
And that's right. And so something that Kirby says or does gets these kids to believe. Now, Atlanta's a hotbed. There's no doubt about it. Atlanta is a hotbed. But, boy, Florida's got Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Pensacola, Jacksonville.
These kids ain't coming from Atlanta, JC.
Well, I get it, and certainly Georgia has the run of the mill there, although Alabama's gone into Atlanta plenty of times and taken players out of there. Calvin Ridley would be one that comes to mind. But having said all that, Georgia is still looking for that elusive national championship, and even though they recruit well, and they recruit more than just well, they recruit extremely well, Clemson, and Alabama were the top 3 out of the ESPN 300 rankings yesterday. And it's just, more of the same. We're going to see a lot of these teams, once again, just competing for national titles on an ongoing basis.
And in Auburn, their top running back and leading rusher from last year, Boobie Williams, is transferring. I thought that was quite interesting. He was their go-to guy last year. But as you mentioned, JC, I mean, you can go ahead, out of these top 10 in this publication that I wrote down
Which
here.
one is that publication?
I think it was 24/7. You know, they had UGA, Alabama, Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Auburn, Florida, Texas
A&M.
and Tennessee was 10.
Wow. Look at all those SEC schools.
But I would take out of the top 8, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think only 6 of the top 8 will, or 6 of those top 8 will be in the Final Four next year.
Yeah,
Here it is. I'm going to give it to you right now, folks.
Oh, we're getting our Final Four prediction today?
Yep. I don't know how it's going to shake out.
I'm writing this down. We've got to
6.
archive this.
Yes.
Hold on. QB,
Okay.
Final Four. Go.
Florida, Ohio State,
Shocker.
LSU,
Yeah.
Clemson, Alabama, or Georgia.
QB, that's 6.
That's what I said.
Well, you can only pick 4.
I said out of this 6, 4 of those will go. Nobody else has a chance. You can go ahead and just not even. You're going to play for the Poland Wheat Eater Independence Bowl game. Give me a team that
They
has
don't
a chance.
play that one anymore, but
Give me a chance.
It is in
Give me a
Shreveport.
team that has a.
Let's
that
see.
could jump in there.
You know, as
Oklahoma can forgive.
the way too early, the way too early Final Four prediction. Let's see. As a Cinderella just comes out of nowhere kind of team, I'm going to go with somebody like I want to say Texas A&M.
I until they win some games,
I know
I can't buy them.
but
even
they
though they're
sure
ranked
have everything
5th in the
place.
country in
They
recruiting.
and they have everything in place there. But how about instead of going with Texas A&M, I go with somebody like Penn State?
Okay, well, good luck to them.
No, I don't want them to have good luck. I don't want them in the Final Four at all.
No, I'm just saying, I can pretty much guarantee you four of those 6 are in the playoffs next year.
Well, Clemson looks unbeatable. I mean, they would have to have an earthquake there for things to go wrong in Clemson. My God, the way they recruit, the players they have, and the competition they are up against on Saturdays. I mean, it is so top-heavy and so one-sided in these games that, I mean, Trevor Lawrence must be just yawning every time they get ready to play NC State, Virginia Tech, Wake, North Carolina. I mean, you know the story. So for Clemson, it's just going to be more of the same. I don't know what their out-of-conference schedule looks like or any of that, but I think they are an absolute guarantee. I mean, aren't they?
Yeah. There you go ahead and put Clemson in there.
Right.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It's from Joe. He says, I believe the Gators' comeback was the largest ever against an opponent in the O-Dome, 22 points.
Well,
yes.
largest in history.
I think in school history, no matter where it was played.
And thank you for that. I was just really into that second half and watching the ball just go in. It's so much fun to watch that.
Yeah,
Isn't
when you
it?
score,
Isn't it great?
when you score and score more points than the other team, it makes you feel
Well,
really
but
good.
some games, I could sit there and watch Virginia play and see them score more points than the other team and literally fall asleep. Honest to God, I could fall asleep.
Well, yeah.
I could watch Wisconsin score more points than the other team and literally watch myself doze off. But last night, watching Florida run up and down the court and see that crowd get into it, that's what basketball's about, right? That's what we've been waiting to see, and that's the kind of game that's the first time we've had a game like that, I guess, since the Alabama game. So certainly it would match up with the way they came back. And that kid Edwards is the real deal. There's no doubt he's going to be, making a lot of money next year.
Have you ever seen an 18-year-old
No,
look like him?
18. I mean, think about it. So we're in the year 2020. This kid was born in 2002.
Math lessons by JC.
I mean, it's incredible. In 2002, we were in a dreadful recession.
But I'm saying just his athleticism, his build, he just looks like a guy who could play in the NBA for the next 20 years. He's an NBA player for sure. Do you think we got anybody on our roster that can play in the NBA?
How he ended up in Georgia, huh?
Do you think we have anybody that can play in the NBA?
I think with the development, yes.
Who?
Get these kids to play a little bit longer in college and get them
I'm asking.
Okay, I know. I'm thinking. Well, I
don't think we have anybody on our roster.
Well, I love Scotty Lewis. I think
he's the only one that has a chance
there
because
you
of his
You
athleticism.
asked me, and I
You
gave
got to be
you
an
an answer.
athlete to play in that league.
Of course you do, and you have to have stamina and endurance, and everything has to come into place. I liked. You laugh, but I like Kerry Blackshear.
He has zero chance playing the NBA. I like him too, but he has zero chance.
Kerry, don't listen to him. Okay, wake up in the
being
morning
honest.
and still believe in yourself, Kerry, and live your dreams. Don't listen to this guy tell you he has no chance. You have no chance in the NBA.
It's just, he's a great
Last time I
college-
checked, this was not Tommy Heinsohn, the director of scouting for the Boston Celtics.
He's
okay?
a great college
Last time I
player
checked.
At times. I don't think
know,
he's played that
but
great
he's
this
young.
year.
Oh my God, these kids are young, and
He's
they're
not
not.
young. He's a fifth-year guy.
Oh, he is.
He's a transfer from
Oh, he is a
Virginia
transfer.
Tech.
My God, he's the transfer from VPI. Well, He's still young, and I think Nemhard is really exciting to watch. But Scotty Lewis would be the answer, like I gave you a minute ago, and I'd say that's the one.
Only because of his athleticism. Again, don't forget here in about 5 minutes we'll be joined by Scotty Spurrier, tight end coach of the Dallas Renegades, one of JC's favorite teams in the XFL.
I love the Dallas Renegades.
Do you know where they're going to be playing their games?
Arlington.
Yeah, where the Texas Rangers play.
Yeah, and that stadium, they're building a new one for the Rangers.
Which
so
it seems like they just built a new one like 10 years ago.
Yeah, they did. I got to get over there and see what's going on. But everything is right next to each other. Jerry's World is right next to where the Rangers play. And then there's a really cool bar called Humperdinck's that's about a mile and a half away, QB.
And don't forget on tomorrow's show.
You don't care.
I really don't.
Well, what if you find yourself in Dallas and you go, what the hell was that bar that JC talked about when I was here?
I use my my device and go bars next to the stadium. Tomorrow's show on Friday, we're going to have Tim Walton, head softball coach, University of Florida. They open up tomorrow, and we'll have him talk about his team. I think what's amazing is the run that they've had. They're preseason ranked 5th in the SEC.
Whew. Yeah, it's a great conference, man. Softball is big in the SEC. He was part of the reason why it's become so much better.
Oh, no question.
Obviously, because of their success. It all started with who was that pitcher, the tall pitcher?
Stacey Nelson.
Stacey Nelson. It started with her and went from there. But I certainly think that softball will be a lot more fun to watch in the new facility when they have that, and then eventually they're going to have the SEC tournament there.
We do have a new facility.
I know, when they have the SEC tournament in the new facility, I can't wait for that. But softball is a lot more fun to watch in that facility now. We have some room to breathe in there. The whole KDC Shoal. And certainly the baseball field being built right across the street behind the outfield, it's going to look great. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. This is what we've been waiting for. It'll get me to go watch because, with me, QB, the biggest thing is, A, I got to be comfortable. B, I got to have entertainment. I'm at the age, and you'll get there soon, where comfort is going to take over.
That's why my recliner is
entertainment
very nice.
value. Okay.
I can work the AC.
Yeah, but you
anytime I
do
want.
show up for the softball games.
I do. But I got a pretty good seat for those events. Pretty much, it's like sitting at home. Real quick, we talked about recruiting today. Do you know who the last 2 5-star players the University of Florida signed? You don't. So do you want me to tell you?
Sure.
Martez Ivy.
Give me all of about 6 seconds
Would you
to
have
think
guessed
about
these?
it.
Martez Ivy and CC Jefferson.
I would have maybe thought about CC.
Okay.
Yeah.
My point is, neither one sniffed the National Football
I know.
League. They're playing in the XFL.
That's a great point. Yeah, well, good. That's what that league is for.
But my point to all this is, all these people.
I know,
that
but the
worry
odds
about,
are,
No, but I don't think a lot of 5-stars. I think if we had somebody do some research and break it down.
Well, I'll break down something simple for you.
How many 5-stars play on the National Football
You
League?
write down Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson. Those 3 schools have more 5-stars than anybody.
I agree.
So it helps to have 5-stars.
It does.
Not mean necessarily that they're going to be the second coming, okay, and that they're going to walk on water. It doesn't mean that at all. But it improves your odds and chances of competing for championships when you have players like that.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. But my point is, I don't know how many of those 5-stars make it to the next level.
Sure, yeah. I mean, football's hard, QB. How many players you got? 53 players on 32 teams. You can do the math.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a big spread of players.
And the average career is
2.6 years or something?
3 years.
Yeah, so especially for guys like running backs who get hit all the time and certainly wide receivers, the position you want to be, I guess, to extend a career in football could be maybe in the defensive backfield. Certainly, I think on the offensive line, there's a lot of offensive linemen that play for almost 10 years, it seems. I don't know how they feel when it's all done, but I get it. Yeah, it's a athlete's life is short-lived, QB.
Yes, tell me about it. All right, so we're going to take our second time out of the program. We're going to come back. We'll have Scotty Spurrier from the Dallas Renegades join us. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer.
Bob in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Weeby Realtor, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Adams Ribs, The Keys Restaurant, UF Mover Guys, Union Home Mortgages, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, and Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Weeby at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews here on a Thursday morning, and we're going to go straight to the Titan MRI phone lines, and we're joined by Scott Spurrier, tight end coach of your Dallas Renegades of the XFL. Scotty, welcome to the program. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, Scotty. So first of all, you're out there in Dallas and a new league starting up. What is the comparison, if you can, briefly state some things? You coached for your dad with the Alliance down in Orlando. Yep. What are the similarities of the XFL and the Alliance?
Well, the biggest similarities, we got a lot of guys in our front office in this league that worked in the Alliance. So they've done a good job seeing what worked in that league and trying to apply it to the XFL, and it's going to be an exciting league for sure. So, football is going to be good. It's going to be fast paced, and looking forward to kicking it off this weekend.
Scotty, JC here. What is the difference in some of the rules? I know that football is very much the same wherever you go, but in this league, there you have some little nuances, specifically after a touchdown is scored. What are some of the options that the offense has for the extra point or points? And discuss some of the different rules that we're going to be looking at while we watch these football games.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Football is football, and that's one thing the XFL wanted to make sure that they did was keep football the main point of the game. And so one thing that's going to be exciting, after we score a touchdown, there's no extra points. So the kicker's not running on the field, and it's not just a play that fans kind of tune out on. It's going to be the offense will have the choice to go for 1 point. The ball will be placed on the 2-yard line. You're running an offensive play. You can go for 2, which the ball will be placed on the 5. Same thing. The offense will be out there running a play, trying to score, and then you can go for 3, which is going to make things really interesting with the score. The ball's going to be on the 10, and you get one chance to try to score from there. So it's, those extra point plays where kind of fans don't necessarily pay attention. That's not going to be the case. It's going to be, hey, try to score touchdowns.
So we could be looking at 9 points in a possession.
Absolutely. And from the coach standpoint, that comes into play with the score. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you want to go for 2? Do you want to go for 3? Are you down? It's going to be interesting for sure.
Scott, we're speaking with Scott Spurrier, tight end coach of the Dallas Renegades of the XFL. They kick off this weekend. All the games are going to either be on ABC, ESPN, or some Fox affiliate, which is great. Yeah. Talk a little bit about the overtime rules as well.
So overtime is going to be, compare it to a hockey overtime. So teams will be going back and forth. It's going to be best of 5. So each team's going to get 5 chances. Ball will be placed on the 5-yard line, and it's a one play. You score or you don't score. So it's the best of 5 situation, going back and forth. And it's going to be the whole thing. They want to make it exciting. To me, that's about as exciting as you can get right there.
Scotty, how did this league come into getting some of these players? I know that there's a lot of preparation that goes into a season, obviously, and then you have players that come in and try out and so forth. Talk a little bit about that, and then tell me how they're being paid. I mean, this is a league that's being funded, I guess, primarily through Vince McMahon. I would think. I don't know the insides or the outsides of how this league began and whatnot, but I'm curious about how the players are both paid and how you came about, finding players for this league.
Yeah, absolutely. Daryl Johnson is the head of our player personnel. Him and his staff did an amazing job getting ready for our draft. We had to draft 70 players in 2 days to get ready. Unlike the NFL, you have a couple rounds that spread over the weekend, but we drafted our whole team in 2 days, which was interesting and exciting. Trying to piece all that together, but we had combines and we had a draft pool that the league put out, so we had a list of names to look at, and players who were interested in this league were able to put their name in that list and attend those combines and everything. So we got our guys through there, and we've been practicing for about a month and a half, 2 months now, so getting ready to go this weekend.
No, I'm sorry. Well, what are the range salaries? I mean, how much money can a player make in this league relative to, I suppose, the NFL? But what's the best they can do here in this league?
Well, it's kind of incentive based, really. So
okay.
I would say guys making anywhere from about 60 to upwards to 90 to 100 for a year, and for working for about 4 or 5 months, that's pretty good right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Scotty, we got a text here on the Titan MRI text line. A guy from Robert. Robert says or asks, "How is it working for Bob Stoops, and is it any better than working for your dad?"
Wow, there you go.
No, Coach Stoops is great. He's a great guy to work for. He's very similar to my dad. They were together at Florida there in the 90s, and there's a lot of similarities. And he's a guy who's going to take care of his coaches, take care of his players, and that's one thing I can guarantee is it's going to be fun coming into work every day.
Well, that's good. A couple more questions here. We're speaking with Scott Spurrier, tight end coach for the Dallas Renegades of the XFL. Hal Mumme is your offensive coordinator, and how is it? I don't know if you've ever worked. I know your brother, Steve Spurrier Jr., has worked under Mike Leach in the air raid offense. How do you enjoy it? And y'all going to throw it around a bunch, huh?
Absolutely. Air raid. They call it the air raid for a reason. We're going to throw it all over the place. But, no, it's been fun. It was great. I actually worked out once the Alliance went down last year. I went and spent 2 weeks out at Washington State with my brother and Coach Leach, and kind of got to see and get a little bit better understanding for the system. And then when I got brought on board here in Dallas, Coach Mumme, it was an easy transition, having a foundation of it. But no, we're going to go fast. We're going to throw it up and down the field, challenge the defense all over the place, and try to score a bunch of points.
Scotty, I'm very familiar with Dallas, and I know that where Jerry World is. Where are the Renegades going to play? And then tell us a little bit about some of the teams that we should be looking at while we get used to this league coming off the NFL season. Now we go right into the XFL season. So give us a little outline of some of the teams, who to look out for, who's going to be. I mean, I would imagine all of them are going to be very competitive. But where the hell are you guys going to play? I don't think. Where's that going to be?
I'm actually sitting here at the stadium right now looking over the field in our offices. We are where the Texas Rangers used to play at Globe Life Park.
Oh.
So we are right across the street from Jerry World.
Oh, I got you. I know exactly where you are. Aren't they building a new baseball stadium there too?
They are. It's right across the street. It's almost done. It's supposed to be ready for the Rangers next season. But they did to Globe Life Park kind of what they did to Turner Field in Atlanta.
Right.
So we're
cool.
Lucky enough to play here. It's a great looking ballpark, and it is ready to go for football. But we got 8 teams in the league, and they're all over the country. You got 4 in the West. That's L.A., Seattle, Houston, and us here in Dallas. And then you got the 4 teams in the East. You got Tampa, the Vipers down there near you guys, and you got a team out in St. Louis, D.C., and New York City.
Wow,
so that's 8 teams, and
that's going to be very competitive. 8 teams. Win your division, then I guess you play, 10 games, and then the winner of the other division square off, or how long are the playoffs? How's that formatted?
There's 2 rounds of playoffs, so the top 2 teams in each division make the postseason. So you're absolutely right. You play 10 games in the regular season, and then if you're lucky enough to make the playoffs, 2 games wins you the championship.
Boom.
Scotty, final question for you. I checked y'all's roster. I don't think you have any Gators on your roster, but is your starting quarterback going to be Landry Jones?
No, we don't have much orange and blue out here in Dallas. I'm working on that, but we got Landry. We got another quarterback, Philip Nelson, and Eric Dungy are our QBs here on our roster, and they're all fighting it out, trying to get as many reps. They all do a great job, and they're all preparing to be the guy on day one. So.
All
right, Scotty.
We're Dallas Renegade fans, Scotty. Come on, baby.
Like it.
Hey, we're gonna put the logo up there. It's cool, and you're gonna love Dallas, my man. Have you been there for a while, or are you just getting in, or how long have you been there?
I've been here for about 4 or 5 months, and you're absolutely right. This place is awesome. It's a great city. Sports town, 100%.
Fantastic. Well, good. Don't make sure when you get some time you go to Billy Bob's over there in Fort Worth. You'll never forget it.
All right.
You'll never forget.
All right, Scotty. Thanks for joining the program, buddy. Take care.
Yep.
That's
Thanks
Scott
for having me.
Spurrier, tight end coach for the Dallas Renegades
He's
of the XFL.
He's got a lot of energy. I can just tell by the way he speaks.
Well, he's a ball coach.
Well, of course. And it's like we're running a 24-second clock with you over here. But I tell you, I'm going to get into this. It's going to take me a little bit, but I'm kind of excited that there's a team in Dallas. I go to Dallas quite a bit, so I'm excited to see how this all plays out. I'm certainly expecting it to last longer than that other.
Well, they got Vince McMahon, who's
the funding is all about it, and we'll see what kind of crowds they get. That stadium that he talked about, where the Rangers used to play, is beautiful, and it's good that they did not. They did not demolish the place, because this new stadium that the Rangers are building, obviously, I think has some climate control issues there. Or not issues, but climate control advantages, because it's unbearable to watch the Rangers on a Sunday afternoon in the middle of July. It's just unbearable. You can't literally sit there and watch those games. It's so hot. So thank you, Scotty, for joining us, and good luck to the Dallas Renegades. I guess we're going to have to just adopt them as the Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning and JC's team.
We'll see.
Well, who else are you going to root for? You going to root for New York? Oh, GA.
Yeah.
Well, will you get GA on?
Well, I'm trying to get. He's busy.
He's very busy.
Let me give you a rundown of the Gators that are in the XFL. I'm not
Where'd
sure
you find
exactly.
this?
Well, I have sources. Running back Mac Brown, wide receiver Antonio Callaway. I believe he's injured right now. Tight end DeAndre Goolsby, offensive lineman Martez Ivy, and defensive end C.C. Jefferson. Running back Matt Jones, safety Will Hill, and safety Matt Elam.
Wow, Will Hill is still doing it, man.
Has played in, I think, every league.
He has, and he's played for quite some time. And I know who Matt Jones is. He played for that school down in Tampa area, Sefner Armwood, and was a very good running back for Florida. Took over the Georgia game one year. I'll never forget that. And certainly we hope he is successful in this league. We've got some comments coming down on Facebook Live. John Walter says JC is the man.
Of course he is.
What do you think of that?
I think it's great.
Well, Taylor, can we hit the like, please?
He wants to like that one.
Can we get that one?
While you're doing that, I'm going to talk about Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the head ball coach's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate.
And as always,
people would have been celebrating there last night after that win if it had been open. It's not open yet. No, it's not open yet. I'm saying if it had been open.
I mean, we're looking for more businesses that would like to sponsor the show, of course. We are. We're looking hard. We're looking out there because without businesses sponsoring the show, we can't continue to do what we do, but we plan on being here for the long term. And certainly if you share the show with your friends, click the like button and then share button so that all of your friends can enjoy the show. And John Walter would be one of those. And certainly hope that we get as many viewers and followers as possible to have as much engagement with this program as possible. We're only here for an hour, but we're here every Monday through Friday. And the best way is to go online, Facebook Live, YouTube, Spotify, all of that, and the Titan MRI phone line, 352-353-7465. And, of course, you can also text us.
And don't forget, tomorrow, Tim Walton will be joining the program
around
8:35-ish.
We'll get that cranking up. When does baseball start? February?
I think next Friday.
Next Friday, okay.
I think Valentine's Day.
I mean, and it's going to be baseball weather, QB. I looked at the long-range forecast.
Not tomorrow, it's not.
No, but next week we're looking at the 80s. So, I mean, that's ballpark weather. That's ballpark weather, QB.
Yeah, it's going to be cold tomorrow, though.
Okay, so I mean that's tomorrow. Oh, you're worried about your golf. I get it, but I think the warmth of next week is going to make you feel like we're in the spring sports already. And it's February. What is this 80 degrees in February business? And Dawn, I want to hear about the global warming. But I certainly think that it's going to be a lot to look forward to. Certainly going back to, and thank you again to Scotty for joining us over there in Dallas. He's been there 4 or 5 months, says he loves the place. So let's see how the Renegades play. Do you even know who they're playing?
They're
tomorrow?
playing the St. Louis team.
The St. Louis Battlehawks, I believe. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. I wonder if the Battlehawks are playing in the old TWA Dome.
Do you think this
Jones
league's going to
Dome.
last?
Well, it does come down to two things. TV ratings, if they can just get a scintilla of a rating, and of course that will keep the advertisers around. And then I think ticket sales are important in some of these areas. I've been to Arlington. It is not one of my more favorite places in the Dallas Metroplex because it's in the southwest part of town, and it's kind of run down, to tell you the truth. And there's a reason why Jerry Jones put his $1 billion palace in that area. So I think, and what I'm saying by that is that the land's cheap. Of course, a lot of land in Texas is cheap, but certainly I think it will because you have a guy like Vince McMahon who's got an awful lot of money. Of course, a lot of people have a lot of money, but this is the extra level type of wealth that we talk about out there, and this is going to probably last at least a couple of seasons to see if they get the numbers that they're looking for, because they're going to have television.
Well, true, but
I think
ratings. I think with them having it on ABC and ESPN and all the Fox
absolutely
affiliates,
does. No, I mean that's great reach, and it's interesting that you mentioned Fox and ESPN cooperating together for this league. So Vince did a great job selling it. It's come through. There was not a lot of fanfare about this while we were watching that other league play that I can remember, because I didn't even know they had 8 teams until this morning. So
what's interesting is they have 8 teams,
Yeah.
and I believe 7 of them are in places that have NFL teams. The only one being St. Louis.
That is interesting. They're going to where people are. You have to find numbers, right? And I don't know if a guy in New York City who just got done watching the New York Jets and the New York Giants stink up the place is going to be all that excited about going to watch this.
Well, he may be excited to be a Guardian fan.
On the flip side of that, he may say, "Well, my God, the Jets and Giants suck. So let me try these guys out."
You know where I think they did make a mistake? Is they hired coaches too soon, especially here in Florida, where they could have had Coach Spurrier. Well, I think we got a call here real quick.
Let's see what we got.
Good morning. Welcome to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. Who's this? Good morning. I guess we can't hear them.
Try it now.
I can't hear them. All right. Maybe they can call back. We'll get technical difficulties.
Oh, here comes.
But what I was saying
the hand
is,
of God.
What I was going to say is,
here.
if they would have probably waited another couple extra weeks,
sure, they could
have had Coach Spurrier as a Tampa coach.
How did that work out? I mean, why they got Bob Stoops? Of course, he was available.
But Coach was still coaching the other league when they were starting to name coaches.
That's not to say they won't one day, unless
true.
he doesn't feel like doing it. All right, now we're on. Who do we have? We have air. We have what they call in the business dead air. Dead air. Hello, wherever you are. Are you with us on Pot Up with Matthews in the morning? He is not. All right, good try. I don't know who. We have no idea. We got to get that fixed. That's on the agenda for the production crew here. That's a production crew
that I know nothing about.
Well, you're the talent.
I've a hard enough time figuring out how to work my phone.
Yeah, well, I think we got a lot to look forward to going forward now. We've got Florida basketball back on the winning track, 2-game winning streak. That helps. Florida recruiting was very solid. Finished 7th or 8th, I guess, in the ESPN 300 poll, which is kind of what I watch. I mean, I don't know what the difference between them rivals or 24/7 is really.
There is nothing.
There is nothing. So a lot of good players coming to Gainesville. The SEC is just loading up, as it always does as a conference, QB. I mean, really, is there anything comparable to this? I mean, even Arkansas got 3 players that are very, very good players, one of whom is a guy named Malik Hornsby, who's a dual-threat athlete that's going to play quarterback at Arkansas, which is kind of a different kind of scheme that we've been used to watching. Quarterbacks at Arkansas are typically the drop-back guys. And, speaking of drop-back.
He's going to have to beat out Felipe.
Well, he's going to have to beat out Felipe, sure. And certainly he's probably maybe redshirt the guy. It'll be interesting to see how that works out for Felipe. I'm rooting for him, certainly. And I don't know, but I do know, as we talked about yesterday, the state of Mississippi is going to have a lot of excitement with Mike Leach, of course, and Lane Kiffin. Tennessee is coming on now.
Your big
with
guy that you love from
Jeremy Pruitt.
Lucedale, Mississippi, went to A&M.
Lucy Dale did. That guy went to Texas A&M. So, I mean, they got some good players there. Jimbo's going to have a lineup. He's just going to have to win games. He's being paid an awful lot of money, and they have high expectations at A&M. I saw where Texas in the Big 12 and Oklahoma obviously dominated that conference in the recruiting wars. And when it comes down to recruiting in that conference, I don't know the difference between A&M, Baylor, Iowa State, or any of them really. Oklahoma State, they all kind of grab these players, redshirt them, and then 2 years later, they're different kinds of kids. They're different players, right? I mean, if you go to Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, or Baylor, what's the difference, right? So you're probably a kid that's a 3-star or something like that, and you come out and they probably redshirt you, get you bigger, fill you up, put the carbs in there on the training table, get you built up, and then 2 years later, boom, there you are, a different kid playing a football team. Playing in a good conference like the Big 12. So I think it's good that recruiting is now signed, sealed, and delivered and done, and spring practice will be next.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to get rid of, in the next couple of years, the February signing period.
Okay,
I mean, think about it. Florida only signed 3 kids.
Yeah.
And we pretty much knew, well, we didn't know. We pretty much had a good feeling Xavier Henderson was going to come.
Hoping for that safety, but he ended up going down south. But that happens. That happens every year. You get some, you don't miss.
I think they should just eliminate it, but they probably won't for a
February?
couple years.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. I'm not. We're not big recruitniks.
No, not at all.
Because we've seen it.
I care about winning games on Saturday.
But you can't win games on Saturday without good recruits,
and good got to have good coaching too.
You absolutely, and certainly Florida is on the upswing there. I think Alabama got this kid Bryce Young out of California. They say he's the #1 quarterback, at least in the ESPN 300, as a dual threat player.
I read
it'll be interesting
where he's
to
like
see.
only 5'10".
He's 6 feet tall, 180, which
means
probably means
he's
he's 5'10", 5'11". I don't know. That's just not very big. And I noticed that too about Bryce Young out of California. And I'm thinking, wow, he's the #1 guy. Now, size doesn't mean everything, right? We all know this. But certainly Mac Jones, I would think, is going to be their #1 guy going into the spring. I thought he did a really good job coming in for Tua, cold like he did, and playing against some adverse conditions there at Auburn. Made 2 mistakes, and you take one of those mistakes away, and they win the game. So anyway, long story short, there's a lot of new faces we're going to be seeing here as we get ready for the football season. Of course, as you mentioned, softball and baseball about to crank up here. We're going to have Tim Walton, your Florida softball legendary head coach. He can give us an update on some of the new players that are coming into games. I saw 2 of his players eating at a local restaurant here lunch the other day, and so they're ready to go.
Did you go get autographs?
I was going to ask them how good they were going to be. No, I didn't. I was not going to. I was going to be like those people in Kansas City that don't mess with Pat Mahomes, and maybe. But I wasn't expecting them to pay for my lunch. Certainly, I don't think Pat Mahomes. Anybody was expecting him to do that either, and he did. Recapping, if you're just joining us, we had Florida come back, biggest comeback in basketball history, down 22 points to Georgia and looking dead on arrival, and then all of a sudden, like a phoenix from the ashes, they just explode and score. Guys wanting to play golf with you.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to play with you.
What do you mean nobody wants to play with me? I can't get him off the phone.
Oh,
I can't get him off the phone.
Do you want to play with JC?
Absolutely, he does. He doesn't want any part of it.
Oh,
although Eric Thomas, boy, I can hit the ball. I wonder if Lamar's as good as he is.
Well,
I think he is.
I don't think so. Anyway, we want to thank Scotty Spurrier for joining us on the program today. Remember, Tim Walton will join us tomorrow, Monday, Danny Werfel. Today's show is a wrap. Brought to you by WrapSpot, a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. We'll see you tomorrow.